Well, hey, everyone, this is Pastor Brad Reaves, and you are watching Prophecy News Brief, where we look at headlines from around the world and bring them to you from a biblical perspective, especially when it comes to end times prophecy. Today's story is something you'll want to pay attention to because we are looking at incredible developments out of Israel regarding the red heifer. We're going to talk to you today about what the red heifer is and what happened and what's happening and why it matters and why we should pay attention. Before I get into that article, if you're thinking about attending our Abraham to Armageddon conference, August 1st in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a beautiful venue right there at the Wyndham of Gettysburg, friends, please get signed up today because once we're full, I can't add any more seats. So we have a limitation of 500 seats. We are closing that gap rapidly, and we want you to attend, but you can't attend if you don't have a seat. Now, we do have an online option, but of course, spending the day with Brandon Holthouse, Tom Hughes, Olivier Milnick, J.B. Hickson, Andy Woods, and myself for one day talking about current events and all the things that are happening around the world. So if you're thinking about attending, today's the day to get registered. Now, let's talk about the red heifer. A new red heifer has been born in Israel, and this could be the final piece of the temple puzzle that needs to come together. One of the most fascinating developments that I've read about this week comes from the Temple Institute, and researchers involved have revealed incredible news that there's been a lot of speculation about, but nothing really concrete. A lot of people have been giving a lot of hope and speculations, but really we haven't had any firm announcements out of the Temple Institute until this week. A red heifer calf named Tamima has been born in northern Israel, and early examinations are suggesting that this currently meets the biblical requirements of being entirely red. For students of the Bible, that immediately raises an important question and something we need to pay attention to. Could this be another step towards preparations for the future temple in Jerusalem? Researchers report today that Tamima was born through an unusual breeding process involving a dairy cow and red Angus genetics. Rabbi Azariah Ariel recently examined the calf and stated that she currently appears fully red and free from disqualifying characteristics, meaning she can't have more than 2 white hairs. The challenge now is not the birth itself. We've already accomplished that. The challenge is maintaining this qualification because according to Jewish tradition and biblical requirements, the animal must mature without developing flaws or the disqualifying white hairs. Researchers acknowledge that there are significant legal, religious, and practical hurdles ahead, but nevertheless, the birth has generated tremendous interest because of the role of the red heifer in Psalm 19. So before we get into that, in Hebrew, what I think is interesting, Tamima means, it's the feminine word for tamim, which means complete, whole, perfect, blameless. This is particularly noteworthy because the biblical requirement for the red heifer in Numbers 19 verse 2 uses the word, you ready? Tamim. Numbers 19 verse 2 says, "Tell the people of Israel to bring you a red heifer without defect." There's that word tamim, in which there is no blemish, in which a yoke has never come. So what does this mean? What does this matter? Well, the ashes of the qualified red heifer are required for ritual purification associated with temple worship. It's not the sacrifice of the red heifer that's necessary, unlike in the sacrificial worship system where you would maybe use a sheep or a goat or a dove or some other heifer. This is purely for purification needs. So a lot of people get confused about this in Bible prophecy. The red heifer is needed exclusively for the purification of the priests and the instruments used in temple service. Without that sacrifice, without those ashes, no sacrifice can really adequately and according to the Levitical law take place. Without purification, temple service cannot go into function. So even if they build a temple, or even if they have all the instruments or have the priests, until they use the ashes of the red heifer for the cleansing service, they cannot move forward. And for decades, organizations such as the Temple Institute have been recreating these temple vessels. They've been training the priests. They have priests line up. They've been researching the ancient practices and preparing for the possibility of renewed temple worship. The existence of the red heifer has been one of the missing pieces frequently discussed in these preparations. And I think that's part of the divine providence of reinstituting temple worship, because the instruments and the training and everything is all man-made. But God has his hand on when that perfect red heifer will come. But now the candidate has emerged. The Bible predicts, friends, this is important to understand. The Bible says there will be a future temple during the tribulation period. That's not an assertion. That's not an allegory. The Bible predicts a literal physical temple. Jesus referenced it. Paul referenced it. Daniel referenced it. 2 Thessalonians tells us that the Antichrist will sit in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. So that means there must be a temple on the Temple Mount. Every preparation connected to the temple worship system deserves our careful attention. Now, let me be clear. The birth of the red heifer does not mean that the tribulation starts tomorrow. It's not setting dates. It's not setting anything. But it deserves our attention to be able to say, this is happening, and the significance of its happening cannot be overlooked. It does remind us that the pieces of the puzzle are closing in fast. We have Israel reinstated as a nation in 1948. We have the gathering of the people, the Jews, back to their land. We have all the instruments of the temple being formed together. You can go in and walk through the old city of Jerusalem, and you can see the menorah that will be placed up there, right there to look at. We have the wars, we have the rumors of wars, we have all the signs. But friends, until that red heifer is put on the scene, we cannot move forward with prophecy as far as reinstating the temple worship. These developments shouldn't be sensational, but it should cause us to watch. And that's exactly what we're doing. Friends, my name is Pastor Brad Reaves, and this has been the Prophecy News Brief. God bless.